The room felt colder, and my heart was beating very fast. "It's not like that," Daniel said quietly. "I just wanted peace, Claire. I wanted everyone to stop fighting." He reached his hand toward me, but I stepped back. It felt like something inside me had broken. "Peace?" I asked. "You call me sick peace, Daniel?" My voice shook with anger and sadness. "I'm sorry," he said. "I really am. I didn't think it would go this far." "No," I said. "You didn't think at all." The words came out before I could stop them. "Now I don't have my medicine, and I feel terrible. Do you understand that? I need those pills." Daniel sat down on the couch and covered his face with his hands. "I'll fix it," he promised. "I'll call your doctor. I'll get a new prescription. I'll do whatever it takes." I crossed my arms. "And what about Evelyn?" He looked up. "What about her? When are you going to stop letting her control our lives?" Daniel did not answer right away. Finally, he sighed. "I don't know." His answer made me even more upset. "Well, figure it out," I said. "Because I'm tired of being treated like an experiment." I walked away before he could say anything else. The next morning, I woke up feeling tired. I sat at the kitchen table and thought about everything that had happened. Evelyn always acted like she knew what was best for everyone. She never listened. She never cared about what I felt. And somehow Daniel always gave her another chance. As I cleaned out an old drawer, I found something interesting. It was an old tape recorder. Dust covered the top of it. I pressed a button. The machine clicked and started working. An idea popped into my head. At first, I felt guilty. Recording someone without telling them seemed wrong. But then I remembered all the times Evelyn had lied, blamed me, and tried to make me look foolish. I needed proof. I carefully hid the recorder inside my purse. That evening, Daniel and I went to have dinner with Evelyn. The restaurant was quiet and warm. Evelyn was already sitting at the table when we arrived. She smiled as soon as she saw us. "Hello, dear," she said sweetly. "You look wonderful today." I knew that smile. It looked kind, but it never felt kind. "Thank you," I replied. I sat down and placed my purse beside my chair. The recorder was running. "Feeling better?" Evelyn asked. "A little," I answered. "That's good," she said. "You know, sometimes people think they are sick when they really just need a better attitude." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "Oh, nothing," she said with a laugh. "I just think many people depend too much on medicine these days." Daniel shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I noticed, but Evelyn kept talking. "People should be stronger," she continued. "In my day, we didn't run to doctors for every little thing." I took a deep breath. "Doctors exist for a reason," I said. "Yes," Evelyn replied. "But doctors can be wrong. And mothers can be wrong too," I answered. The smile on her face became smaller. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Evelyn leaned back in her chair. "You always take everything so personally, Claire." I stared at her. "Maybe because it is personal." Daniel looked nervous. He glanced at his mother and then at me. "Can we please not argue?" he asked. "I'm not arguing," I said. Evelyn laughed softly. "See, Daniel? This is exactly what I mean." "What do you mean?" I asked. "She always becomes upset when someone disagrees with her." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "You convinced Daniel to throw away my medicine," I said. Evelyn froze. The table became very quiet. "I was only trying to help," she said after a moment. "Help who?" I asked. "You. By taking away something I need." Evelyn folded her arms. "I wanted Daniel to see the truth." "What truth?" "Maybe you aren't as sick as you claim." Her words felt like a punch. Even though I expected them, they still hurt. Daniel looked shocked. "Mom," he said quietly. But Evelyn continued. "I've thought that for a long time." I shook my head slowly. "You really believe that?" "Yes," she said. The confidence in her voice made me angry. "You know nothing about my health," I replied. "I know what I see." "You see what you want to see." The waiter came to the table, but nobody was ready to order. The poor man quickly walked away. "Mom," Daniel said again. "You shouldn't have said that." Evelyn turned toward him. "Why not?" "Someone needed to." "No," Daniel replied. "Nobody needed to." For the first time that evening, Daniel sounded firm. Evelyn looked surprised. "So now you're taking her side?" "I'm taking the side of common sense," Daniel said. "She has doctors. She has medical records. She has prescriptions. Why can't you accept that?" Evelyn's face turned red. "I'm your mother." "I know," Daniel said. "Then you should trust me." Daniel looked down at the table. When he spoke again, his voice was calm. "Being my mother doesn't mean you're always right." Evelyn looked hurt. But I noticed something else. For the first time, she had no answer. The conversation became quiet. After dinner, Evelyn left quickly. She barely said goodbye. The moment she was gone, Daniel let out a long breath. "That was awful," he said. "Yes," I agreed. "I'm sorry, Claire." I looked at him carefully. "You keep saying sorry." "I know. But nothing changes." His shoulders dropped. "I'm trying." "Then try harder." The ride home was silent. When we arrived at our apartment, I took the recorder out of my purse. Daniel looked confused. "What's that?" A recorder. His eyes widened. You recorded dinner? I nodded. Every word. For a moment he stared at me. Then he asked, why? Because nobody believes me. I pressed play. Evelyn's voice filled the room. Every cruel comment. Every accusation. Every rude remark. Everything was there. Daniel listened quietly. As the recording continued, his face changed. He looked sad. Then I was disappointed. Then angry. When the recording ended, he sat in silence. Finally, he spoke. I never realized how bad it was. I folded my arms. I've been telling you for years. I know. No, Daniel. You heard me. But you didn't listen. He nodded slowly. You're right. The words surprised me. Daniel almost never admitted that. I should have listened. Yes, you should have. He looked at the recorder again. I can't believe she said those things. But she did. And she really convinced me to throw away your medicine. Yes. Daniel rubbed his forehead. I made a terrible mistake. I sat down across from him. For the first time all day, my anger began to fade. Not because everything was fixed. Not because I was suddenly happy. But because he was finally seeing the truth. I need to know something, I said. What? Will you stand up for me next time? Daniel thought for a moment. Then he nodded. Yes. Even if it makes your mother angry? Yes. Even if she complains? Yes. I looked into his eyes. This time he seemed serious. I love my mother, he said. But I love you too. And I should have protected you. A small tear rolled down my cheek. That's all I ever wanted. Daniel reached for my hand. This time I did not pull away. We sat quietly together. The road ahead would not be easy. There would still be difficult conversations. There would still be hurt feelings. And Evelyn would probably not change overnight. But something important had happened. The truth had finally been heard. No excuses. No misunderstandings. No pretending. Just the truth. And sometimes the truth is the first step toward making things better. As I sat there holding Daniel's hand, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope. Small and fragile, but real. And for the first time in many months, I believed that maybe things could finally change. The dining room was quiet, but I had a secret. A small recorder was hidden in my pocket, and it was recording every word Evelyn said. I wanted proof of how she treated me because I knew no one would believe me without it. Dinner with Evelyn was never easy. Every time she spoke, her words sounded polite, but they were really hurtful. She always found a way to make me feel small. Really, Claire? Evelyn said while taking a sip of her drink. Do you really need all those medicines? Maybe the problem isn't your body. Maybe it's all in your head. She smiled sweetly, but her words felt sharp. I stayed calm. Sometimes people don't understand illnesses they can't see, I replied. As I spoke, I lightly touched the recorder in my pocket to make sure it was still working. Evelyn leaned back in her chair. Misunderstandings happen all the time, she said. We're family now. We should be honest with each other. I could see the little smirk on her face. She seemed to enjoy making me uncomfortable. Honesty should go both ways, I answered. Even though my heart was beating fast, I kept my voice steady. The meal continued. Evelyn kept making comments that sounded caring, but were really insults. She talked about my health as if she knew more than my doctors. Finally, when dessert arrived, she became even more confident. Daniel told me he helped you stop taking those pills, she said. That's wonderful. Soon everyone will see you've been perfectly fine without them. A cold feeling ran through me. I looked at her carefully. And what if I'm not fine? I asked. Evelyn laughed softly. But you will be fine, she said. I'm sure of it. Her confidence was shocking. But it was exactly what I needed. The recorder was capturing every word. The next morning, my body showed the truth. Without my medicine, I became very sick. I woke up feeling dizzy and weak. My chest hurt, and it became hard to breathe. Soon I was lying on the floor, gasping for air. I could barely move. Then Daniel found me. The moment he saw me, panic filled his face. Claire, he shouted. He rushed to my side and quickly called an ambulance. As he held my hand, I could see the fear in his eyes. At that moment, he was no longer thinking about his mother's opinions. He was seeing the truth right in front of him. The ambulance arrived, and I was taken to the hospital. Everything happened quickly. Doctors and nurses moved around me. Machines beeped beside my bed. Bright lights filled the room. I felt tired and weak, but I was safe. Later, when things became quieter, Daniel sat beside me. He looked exhausted. His eyes were red from crying. I can't believe this happened, he said softly. I should never have listened to Mom. I looked at him. We can't change what already happened, I said. But we can decide what happens next. Daniel nodded. What do you mean? He asked. I took a deep breath. I recorded everything. His eyes widened. You recorded, Mom? I nodded. Every word she said about my illness and my medicine. We finally have proof. For a moment Daniel was silent. Then he slowly nodded. The pieces were finally fitting together. Claire, he said, if that's what we need to do, then let's do it. We need to stop this. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. The recording had given us something we never had before. Proof. Over the next few days, we met with a lawyer. We explained everything that had happened. We told her about Evelyn's actions, her attempts to interfere with my treatment, and the damage she had caused. The lawyer listened carefully. When she heard the recording, her expression became serious. "This is important evidence," she said. Together we made a plan. Then the day finally arrived. The day we would confront Evelyn. The meeting took place in our lawyer's office. It was a small room with a large table in the center. Evelyn arrived right on time. At first she looked confident. She sat down and smiled politely. But I noticed a small nervous look in her eyes. She kept glancing at Daniel and me. "I don't understand why we're all here," she said. Her voice sounded calm, but I could tell she was worried. Daniel looked directly at her. "Mom," he said quietly, "this is about what you've done." Evelyn frowned. "What do you mean?" Daniel turned toward me. "Claire," he said, "play the recording." I reached into my purse and took out the recorder. The room became very quiet. Then I pressed the button. Evelyn's voice filled the room. Everyone listened. The recording clearly captured her words. They heard her talk about my medicine. They heard her encourage Daniel to help me stop taking it. They heard her claim I wasn't really sick. As the recording played, Evelyn's face slowly lost all color. The confidence she had brought into the room disappeared. When the recording ended, silence filled the room. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Evelyn finally broke the silence. "This is being taken out of context," she said quickly. But her voice shook. The excuse sounded weak. The truth was too clear. "There is no context that makes this okay," I said firmly. Evelyn looked at me. I continued speaking. "I trusted you. You knew I was sick. You knew I needed my medicine." Her eyes dropped toward the table. Daniel spoke next. His voice was calm but full of pain. "We trusted you," he said. "Why would you do this?" Evelyn looked at her son. Tears began forming in her eyes. "I was only trying to help," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "No, Mom. Helping doesn't put someone's life in danger." Evelyn opened her mouth, but no words came out. The lawyer leaned forward. "Mrs. Evelyn," she said, "your actions caused serious harm. We have evidence showing that you encouraged dangerous decisions involving Claire's medical treatment." Evelyn looked frightened now. The situation was becoming very real. "I didn't think she was really sick," Evelyn admitted. The room became quiet again. I stared at her. "You thought I was pretending?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I thought you were making it up." Daniel looked shocked. "Even if you believed that," he said, "how could you take that risk?" Evelyn had no answer. For the first time, she truly seemed to understand what she had done. The lawyer explained the possible legal consequences. She spoke about responsibility, accountability, and the harm that had been caused. Evelyn listened quietly. The woman who always seemed so confident suddenly looked very small. Eventually, tears rolled down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. No one responded immediately. The room remained silent. Finally, I spoke. "Being sorry doesn't erase what happened." Evelyn nodded. She knew I was right. The meeting continued for hours. There were discussions about legal agreements, medical costs, and future boundaries. It was not an easy conversation, but it was a necessary one. In the end, Evelyn agreed to a settlement. She accepted responsibility for the damage she had caused. She agreed to pay for my medical expenses and other costs connected to her actions. There were also clear rules put in place to protect me moving forward. When everything was finished, we left the office. Outside, the fresh air felt wonderful. For the first time in months, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Daniel reached for my hand. I held it tightly. He looked at me with sadness. "Claire," he said, "I'm so sorry." I could see how much he regretted everything. "I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening. I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner." I looked at him carefully. I knew rebuilding trust would take time. But I also knew he was being honest. "It will take time," I said. "A lot of time." Daniel nodded. "I know. But today was a good first step." A small smile appeared on his face. "Then we'll keep taking steps," he said. "Together." In the weeks that followed, my health slowly improved. I started taking my medicine properly again. Day by day, I became stronger. The pain began to fade. The fear slowly became smaller. I also started attending therapy. Talking with a professional helped me understand everything I had been through. It helped me heal emotionally, not just physically. Daniel joined me for couples therapy as well. Together we talked about trust, communication, and the mistakes that had been made. Some conversations were difficult. Some brought tears. But each session helped us grow stronger. Slowly, our relationship began to heal. Life started finding a new rhythm. For the first time in a long while, my voice was being heard. My health was respected. My feelings mattered. The house felt peaceful again. There were still hard days. There were still painful memories. But those memories no longer controlled my life. Instead, they became reminders of how far I had come. As the months passed, I noticed something important. I was stronger than I had ever realized. I had survived lies. I had survived manipulation. I had survived betrayal. And now I am moving forward. One evening, I sat outside watching the sunset. The sky was painted with beautiful colors. Daniel sat beside me. Neither of us spoke for a while. The silence felt peaceful. Then I smiled. For the first time in a very long time, I felt free. The truth had finally come out. The lies had lost their power. Justice had been served. And while the past would always be part of my story, it would no longer control my future. I was no longer simply someone who survived a difficult situation. I had overcome it. I had found my voice. I had found my strength. And as I looked toward the future, I knew one thing for certain. No one would ever take that strength away from me again.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ गए जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी रूह का मकान तू लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर